Hey guys, YGO Black Mage here. I made you guys another PowerPoint. This is a deck discussion on the Madolche archetype. I have been playing the Madolche deck for at least a month now. I've been trying to make them good. And I figured that I'd share some of my knowledge about the deck to all of you guys. As I think that the deck has some potential, but I also think that there are some holes. I do believe that this deck discussion is going to take more than one video to complete because I'm going to be going quite in depth into the video. Quite in depth into the deck. So without further ado, let's get going with the deck discussion. The first monster you should be concerned with in Madolche's is Madolche Madolche. She's a level 4, 1400 attack. Something you should know, all Madolche monsters have the universal effect that when they are destroyed by your opponent, either by battle or card effect, they get sent back to the deck. And this is also true even if the summon gets negated by Assault Warning. Madolche Madolche is basically a Stratos of the deck. When you normal summon it, you add a Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. Seems pretty standard. Now, another fact is that she can search herself, which can ultimately create an infinite loop. You see, you have the first Madolche here, and she can search for the second Madolche. Now, when the first Madolche gets destroyed, she gets shuffled back into the deck. The second Madolche can search the third Madolche, the second Madolche gets shuffled into the deck, and then the third can search the first that was previously shuffled into the deck, thus creating an infinite loop of Madolches and a surefire way to always keep field presence, similar to Wind Up Rabbit or other floaters. or gadgets. And if you have the field spell Madolche Chateau, it returns to the hand, and it can crash with 19 beaters, such as Thunder King Ryo. So you'll have recyclable 1900 beat sticks. It's pretty good. Next up in the Madolche monster lineup, we have Madolche Mifui. Now, same universal effect. When it's normal summon, you can special summon a Madolche monster from your hand, which is basically very similar to Marauding Captain. Madolche Mifui can be used in synchronization with other Madolche monsters for various combos. The first combo is that you can combine Mifui with Message Gelato, which we'll talk about later, to search for either Chateau or Ticket. Another combo is that you can use Mifui with another Mifui or any other level 3 Madolche monster to create a rank 3 such as Leviathan Dragon, Zen Mains, or if you're going for combos, Invoker. Next up in the Madolche lineup, we have Madolche Pudding Cess. Now, she has 1000 attack. If you have no monsters in your graveyard, she gains 800 attack. And defense, I believe. Yes, and defense. After she battles an opponent's monster, she can destroy a card that your opponent controls. Now, notice that Madolche Pudding Cess is level 5, which is very unfortunate. Basically, the only way you're going to bring Pudding Cess on the board is special summoning her from your hand by using the effect of Madolche Mifui. Now, there are some pluses and some minuses to Madolche Pudding Cess. Obviously, pluses, you can get rid of problematic cards like Macrocosmos, Dimensional Fissure, blah blah blah. But a problem is, first of all, it's level 5. The only way you bring it out is with Mifui, and even that, in essence, is situational. Also, it's pretty small. Granted, with Chateau and no Madolches in the graveyard, it has 2300 attack, which is decent. But without Chateau, it's only an 18 beat stick. It can still get beaten by Thunder King Ryo. And sure, you can pop the Thunder King Ryo in exchange, but your Pudding Cess is gone. And that's if you have no monsters in your graveyard. In order to consistently have no monsters in your graveyard, you will have to run pure Madolches, which means that these guys, which are popular tech choices, you will not be able to run these cards. Any of them. If you want Madolche Pudding Cess to always have that 800 attack boost. And I like Thunder King, Sangan, and Effect Veiler. So I don't run Pudding Cess, but you can tech one if you like it. Note that it has to battle an opponent's monster to pop a card. It cannot get it off of attacking directly. This is a mistake I often see by Madolche duelists. Next up, we have, I put these two on the same because they're both similar. Madolche Butleresque is a spellcaster, 1500 attack. If you control another Madolche monster and you normal summon him, you can add a field spell, not just a Madolche field spell, any field spell, from your deck to your hand. But the fact that it's any field spell is mostly irrelevant because you'll always be adding the Chateau. Madolche Messengelado. When you special summon and you control a beast type Madolche monster, you can add a Madolche spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. So each of these have their different pros and cons, which I'm going to go over briefly. First, we have the Butleresque. Butleresque's pros. He works well with Madolche and Ultimate Offering. If you get this combo out, you can go Madolche, Butleresque, and then have you just search Chateau, and then you'll have 7,700 damage on the board. Butleresque is very good in your hand along with Madolche in general, because you can keep summoning Madolches to the field, and most likely you'll be having back rows to stop your opponent's monsters, and at the one point that Madolche survives, you can summon Butleresque and grab Chateau, and then things get much more interesting from there. Another thing is that he's less situational. He's easier to use, generally, because you only need another Madolche monster, as opposed to being special summoned and having a beast-type Madolche monster. So he is easier to use, not necessarily having a better effect, but he is easier to use. Some of the cons is he is a slower card. If you're running a more spammy, special summon-oriented Madolche deck, it is not recommended that you run Butleresque because of his lack of speed. Another con is that Madolche Ticket is a no-go with this one, as opposed to the ability to search for Madolche Ticket with the effect of Madolche Messengelado. Now we go to the Messengelado. His pros. He works well with these two cards. Mewtwo special summons him from the hand, and that's how he gets his effect off about roughly 80-85% of the time. And you can use Invoker, and he is an Invoker target, so you can use Invoker to special summon him from the deck. This can lead into making Queen Madolche Tiramisu, which we will talk about later. You can even combine two Messengelados to make a Heroic Champion Excalibur if you have the extra deck room. Another thing about Messengelado is that he is capable of searching Chateau, Ticket, and Madolche Happy Festa, the three Madolche spell traps that are typically played, while Madolche Butleresque can only search the first. The cons is that it is harder for his effect to resolve because it relies on special summoning him and having a beast-type Madolche monster on the field, which can be more difficult to pull off than activating the effect of Madolche Butleresque. Another thing is that the level 3 Mewtwo and the level 4 Messengelado cannot overlay. So you're just left with a Mewtwo and a Messengelado, which is a very awkward field in my opinion. Next, we have Madolche Croissant. Now, Madolche Croissant is very compatible with a lot of the Madolche monsters. I feel it intermixes well with the archetype in general. It's very interactive with other monsters, and it can stay on the field by itself. What does this card do? Once per turn, you can bounce another Madolche card you control. No, that's not a monster, it's a card. And he will permanently gain 1 level and 300 attack. Now, this means that every turn with a Madolche Continuous Spell card, he can gradually get up in attack. And I have gotten Croissant into the 3k range in some of my duels because I just kept him on the field. Now, other than becoming a giant beat stick, he obviously has other uses, as he is very interactive with other Madolche monsters. He's interactive with Madolche. You can bounce Madolche to the hand and just keep summoning Madolche and searching. If you combo off with Mewtwo and then search, and then special from the hand, you can use Croissant to reuse the Mewtwo again. So, I mean, just constant reusing of these Madolches, these normal summon dependent Madolches, is why Croissant is very good. He's also good with Madolche Butleresque. I didn't put him on here because, I don't know, just not that many people run him. I mean, people run him, but Mewtwo and Madolche are typically ran universally in any Madolche deck. He also triggers Ticket with his bouncing effect, which is very useful. Next up, we have Madolche Marmalade. Her effect, she has 2,000 defense, so take note, and she's level 4. If she's flipped face up, you can add a Madolche Spell or Trap card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, this means you can get your chateau and ticket back from your graveyard. Now, there are some things that I do not like about Marmaid. Well, first off, she's a little slow. I mean, you have to have her flip face up, and she's more of a defensive stall card, and I'm not too big of a fan of that, like just a 2000 defense monster that you're hiding behind. Another thing is that look at these. Madolche Ticket is a continuous spell card. Madolche Chateau is a field spell card. These cards are going to stay onto the field unless your opponent blows them up. So you'll have to rely upon your opponent blowing up these cards to get Madolche and Marmaid's effect, which can be quite annoying. If there was a normal spell card that could be abused with Marmaid, then it would be a better card, but right now it's kind of iffy. You can run it as a one-off tech if wanted. Madolche Chateau, all Madolches gain 500 attack and defense, and you can bounce, and if a Madolche would be shuffled back into the deck, you can add it back to your hand. So basically they all gain 500 attack. Madolche takes down Thunder Kings, Messenger Gelato takes down Cyber Dragons, and they all go back to the hand, which is really good. Madolche Ticket. You can only activate the effect of a Madolche Ticket once per turn. You cannot stack them like Factory or Black Whirlwind, which is very similar to for this archetype. When a Madolche monster goes from your side of the field or your graveyard to your hand or deck, you add one Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. If you control a fairy type Madolche such as Pudding Cess or Tiramisu, you can special summon it instead. Now, it's a mandatory effect, so the first opportunity that you can activate it, you have to activate it. So you have to be careful what you do during the course of your turn. Madolche Happy Festa is similar to the rekindling of the deck. Special summon any number of Madolche monsters from the hand, they all get returned to the deck during the end phase. Now, before you tell me that this card is bad because it's situational and it special summons from the hand instead of the graveyard, just think about it. When you have Chateau on the field, all your destroyed monsters go to the hand. And your hand's going to clog with all these monsters, and you want to make a huge play with all of them, but it's very hard to do this, since you're usually limited to 2 to 3 summons per turn. With Madolche Happy Festa, you can special summon, you can dump them all from your hand and push for a game, which is why I like the card as a one-of. Because it can be searched with Messenger Gelato and can be shuffled back with Tiramisu. Also, that's another thing. When it's activated, it provides ammo for a Queen Madolche Tiramisu. Speaking of the Queen, here she is. You can detach an Ixie's material. It requires 2 level 4 Madolche monsters to form. You can detach a material, shuffle up to 2 Madolche cards from your graveyard into your deck, and shuffle the same amount of cards on your opponent's side of the field to the deck, up to the amount of cards that you shuffled. So, you have to have at least one Madolche card in the graveyard prior to detaching in order to activate her effect. That is a ruling. And you can recycle these guys. Chateau makes it so any Madolche monster you add back can go back to the hand. And Ticket makes it so that when you activate her effect, you trigger Ticket. And Tiramisu is very good because, well, obviously she shuffles cards back into the deck. Problematic Searcher, gone. Problematic Ixie's monster, gone. Problematic spell or trap card, gone. They're all back to the deck, and it's very hard to retrieve cards back from the deck most of the time, as opposed to them being sent to the graveyard or bounced to the hand. So that's it for this portion of the Madolche discussion. I discussed all the cards in support for the Madolche archetype. I hope you enjoyed the video. In my next segment of this deck discussion, I will be discussing tech choices that go well with the deck, different builds you can make, and even a build that has already topped a regional. So, if you like these, comment, say that you do. I'm eager to make more deck discussions, so, I have the free time. So, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.